Masechta Menochos, Daf Hey Amud Aleph, the end of the first line of Daf Hey Amud Aleph. Meisvei, Hashem Mitzvah Nishchat Shalei Lishma. Hashem Mitzvah that was slaughtered not for the sake of a Kav Mitzvah, or he didn't place as the procedure requires the blood on the thumb and the toe of the Mitzvah. He still could be makar on the mizbeach, v'ton nesachim, and it needs libation, like the din of a Hashem Mitzvah. But nevertheless, since it wasn't done kedinai, the Mitzvah wasn't yotzi yedei chavase. The tzarich hashmach alachshirei. He needs another Hashem to be machshir. So what do we see from this Baraisa? Even though it was done shalei lishma, we say that the behema, that the carbon Hashem is kosher. Not like Rav said, that paskin that it's going to be puzzle because it comes to be machshir, and it wasn't machshir because it was shalei lishma. So, and we paskin that it's kosher, the opposite of Rav. The Yufta Rav is a kosher Rav. The Gemara now brings an Amayra that argues on the Shita of Rav. Reb Shimon ben Lak Shama, Mincha Ima Shekmat Shalei Lishma Kshera. He says, Mincha Ima, even though it's lahachsher, it's coming to be Mata Daima. If it was done Shalei Lishma, it's nevertheless going to be kosher. But the leftovers after the kmitza cannot be eaten because it's still under the Isa of Chadash. Till he brings another mincha, he does a kmitza kalacha, the tatira and be mated the shiari mincha of the first mincha that was left over after the kmitza. In fact, since sheshiyara ain't a cholin, that the leftovers are not eaten until he brings another mincha. Mikav hechikarva. So how is he even allowed to be makabed on the mizbeach? Be mashki yisol. We learn now from mashki yisol that it has to be mutter for yisol to be able to be makiv on the mizbeach. Min hamutter, from what's mutter to eat li yisol, that's what's permitted to be makiv on the mizbeach. And since this tuach hadash is not mutter ba'achila through the mincha that he has done shalei lishma. So the kmitza is a Michael Asli Yisrael. I mean, so it should be for business. So since the kmitza is considered as a Michael, that's also Yisrael, shouldn't be able to be sacrificed as a mincha. I mean, because Shlakish holds that something that's not right lakrov because this man of the akrava hasn't reached yet, but it will be sacrificed on that day, and it will become mutter. So mechusas man is not considered as a isa achila, since at the end of the day he's going to be makav another mincha, and so therefore it's not considered that this man hakrava didn't reach yet, and therefore the first kmitza is memash yisol, is considered as food that's mutter to yisol, because eventually it's going to be mutter. Even though as of now, but since it's just Mechus's man, at the end of the day he will be makab another min chorash, he says. So therefore, it's considered as mutter. Yes, there are dinim in eifes that qualities in eifes that are not noig b'menachos. Yes, and there are halachis. That are not noig b'eifes. Yesh b'eifes, there are halachas that are dafke b'eifes. Shayfes b'nila shnayim. That eif could be brought as an adog b'shutves. But menachos, it says nefesh ksiva. So it can only be brought as a single person, no shutves. Milchus kapara. And also mechus kapara, it says only zav v'zava. Yiladus mitzera behut. So those two are only done b'yachid. Versus eifes can be done b'shutvis. Behut miklal yisur b'akodesh. And there's a special heter by kachrim that they are itna yidei melikam. And meaning that there's a isur mitzad nevela for rahedjit, but mitzad kochim it's good. Mashen kim b'menachos, there's no such a thing that if it's that it should be also to a person and mutar b'kodesh. Yes, Menochos, and then there's halachas that are on the Menochos. Shamenochos tunis that are not be'efes. Shamenochos tunis kli. A Menochos needs a vessel. The kli kajut nufa needs the waving. Agosha has to be brought by the north of the Mizbeach, southwestern of the Mizbeach as Agosha, meaning you bring the keli close to the Mizbeach, that corner. Yes, and a Menach, you can have a minchas tzibur, and it has the same thing as a yachid mashenk be'efes. You don't find oiv by tzibur. A mincha is a mincha for tzibur. But oiv cannot be brought as a common tzibur. In fact, you want to be if you're saying that you mark the komitz of the mincha that was shalei lishma, even though it's not mutter as to a chadash for the people, but it's mutter on the mizbeach. So how do you say that there's a din by Eifes, which is not found in halachis, in Eifes that's not found by Menachos, that you said by Eifes, that by Malika it will be also for a hedget, but Mutba Kodesh, but Menachos not Mashkachas law, that it's going to be also for a hedget and Mutba Kodesh. The Hut to Mikal Yisrael Kodesh, remind you, what are they? Mechzayimah. If he did it Shalei Lishma, it's going to be forbidden for a hedget, but it's going to be Mutter for the Mizbeich, like we just learned. So how do you say that there is an Eifes, which is the halachis, which cannot apply by Menachos, that by Eifes, by Maliki, you find that it's Asa B'Hedjid, it's Mutter B'Kodesh, by Menachos you can find the same thing if it's not Shalei Lishma. I think, even the Eimah Chutz L'Zman, the Beit B'Yayim, since it's not considered as B'Chutz L'Zman, because he's eventually going to be makiv another mincha, and that will take care of business. Lavi Saru, so it's not considered even as a Isa. Master Hashish, Gemara will say later on, you don't even have to bring another mincha here. Rashi is saying bring another mincha. Master Hashish is the Shaiva from the Braisa Higdim, if the kohen was magdim matan shemel matan dam. The halacha is the two things. There's the order when it comes to a mitzvah that you have to first do the dam, put the dam on the toe and the thumb, and then you put the shemen. And also by the shemen itself, you first spray it towards the mizbeach, and then you put the shemen on the toe and the thumb. So what happened? Hikdim matan shemen matan dam. He went out of the sequence. He first placed the shemen on the toe and the thumb before placing the dam. So you have a little shemen. Then he fills up the kli again with shemen. If he's missing shemen, he eaten shemen akamatan dam, and he placed the shemen once again after placing the dam. What's if he first placed the shemen before spraying the 7 times towards the Kodesh HaKodashim, and it's supposed to be the reverse? He's supposed to first spray the 7 times towards the Kodesh HaKodashim and then place it on the thumb and the toe. It says in the Mishnah there again, Yimalenu shemen, or the Braisa, Yimalenu shemen, you should fill up the kli with shemen. Yasma eat the matna behinas, and he should give again the matna behinas acha matan shava, after he sprayed the 7 hazois towards the Kodesh HaKodashim. Now, if you're going to say like that the time, it is not considered as a Isa because eventually he's going to be marking the other mincha. Here also, eventually, why does he have to put the shemen after the Nesinas Adam a second time? L'cheira, it's right to say that even if he puts it before this man, my David, what he did because eventually it's going to become mutter. Why do you have to do it over again? If it becomes mutter after the 7 hazoyis, or even if he does it out of sequence is considered as Mechus Zman. But you say Mechus Zman is not considered as a Yisur, so why does he have to redo it? Papa answers, Shiny Hilchis Mitzeda. Hilchis Mitzeda is different. The Torah says specifically Havoya, that the Damakasa says Tziyah Torah Mitzeda. The Torah demands that there should be in the right sequence. that he should do exactly the Seder of the Torah without being Mishanit. Papa asked the Shaila, what's if he was Magdim, Hikdim Chatos LaShameh? By Matzeri, he's supposed to bring the Asham before the Chatos. He brought the Chatos before the Asham. Lo Yiyach Mamaris Bedama. You shouldn't have, before spraying the Dam of the Chatos, have somebody stir the blood, it shouldn't become congealed, and Shech the Asham, and then go back to the blood, the spraying of the blood of the Chatos. No. El Tuba Tzirasa. We wait till the form of the basa it becomes destroyed. But takes and then you bring it to the house of Seifa. It's done through Lina, because here the psul wasn't such a visible psul, it was just out of sequence. It's not a psul b'gufay. So you're not mavazi it by immediately throwing it into fire. Oh, you wait overnight, then it becomes noisa, which is a psul b'gufay, and then you burn it. That's what Rashi says. Okay, why Rapapa? Why is Rapapa even asking? If he did it out of sequence, we already learned by Rapapa the Amar, Shiny Hills Mitzeda, the Ksibei Avaya. By Mitzeda it says Befedish that you must follow sequence. The Torah is Metaik. That has to be a bidiyuk of the sequence that the order that the Torah says. And since he went out of order, it's no good. Rapapa is the Kash like Ba'aveda. Say, when did we say that you have to have it in according to the exact order by the Aveda? Shechita lav Aveda. Shechita is not considered as Aveda because it's kosher b'zah. Tesis says that the kosher b'zah is only because it's not Aveda. Not because from Kshir b'zah is not Aveda, it's not Aveda. So Tesis gives a different answer that since the Shechita is done by other kabbanis as well, so it's not considered as an Aveda. Not by chulin as well. So if it's not considered as aveda, okay. So you want to be ein mechusas man lebei yayim. If there's no mechusas, now you're talking about it's not aveda, and the mechusas man is not considered as a yisur. So if it was out of order, it's considered as a mechusas man. So let somebody else, let somebody stir the blood, the lack of hashim, and be mak of the hashim, and then be mak of the achatas. Papa says, this is the reasoning of Reish Lakish. The Kasal, because Reish Lakish says, hey, Amizach, you don't even have to bring the Minchas Haimah to be mated. The moment that the morning comes in, it says, Bukhra Rashi brings down, so in the morning of the 16th day, that is mated, the Tfuah Chadosha, not the Kabmaima. Kabmaima is only that the Rabbanan, they said that it should be a mankiv that come name. It's a mitzvah, not with the Rabbanan, but it's a mitzvah to be bring the Minchas, but it becomes mutter through the Heya Mizach, and therefore the Minchas, even though it was Niklas Shalei Lishma, it's still going to be matter. The morning was already matter the Ima. They both say, Heya Mizach, if the morning, the Yom Shisha Asa, came in, like it says, Ad Etzem, and we said, and the Targum teaches Ad Bichron, or Bichron is when the morning comes in. When the Netzachama happens, that's Matet Ba'achila. Zaki, what about other Ishlakish? This say that even the base of Migdash Kayim, that if it was Heya Mizach, it was Matet, the new Tvua, Laba Finish Itma, it was not learned explicitly, element Klala Itma. Only it was inferred from the other words, from other words. That's how we inferred that Heya Mizach is mated in Tzur Chadash. Not that we learned in the Mishnah. Ein mevim minchas bikurim menochos, and we don't bring menochos and bikurim or minchas behema from the new Tzur Kadin lahema before the hema, because you need memashki yisol. Meaning it has to be mutter first. The wheat has to be mutter for the yisol. Im heavy for the regular people. Im heavy, and if he brought of these before the Ima Apostle, it's going to be Apostle. So too, if he brought before the Shtei Alachem, which is brought on Shavuos, because the first Kabbanis that should be brought, even though the Tvur Chadash became mutter from the second day of Pesach, from when he brought the Ima, but as a first carbon from the wheat, should as be brought by Shavuos. So, and so we said anything that was brought before even the second day of Pesach, that's going to be puzzle if you brought it as a carbon. And he says even, but if he brought before the Shtei Alechem lo yavi, but maybe kosher. But if he brought a carbon, even though the first carbon from the Tvur Chadash should be Shvois, but if he did bring it, but the evidence is going to be kosher. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Shlakish. Rabbi Yitzchak said Shlakish leishanu in the beginning of the Mishnah when it says a mincha that was brought before the oima, it's psula. Is el ba'aba only if it's the 4th, 13th, and 15th day of Nisan before the time of the oima is allowed. But in the 16th day of Nisan, im hevi, if he brought a mincha, but even before he brought the karban ha'ima, kosher is going to be a kosher. It's going to be kosher. Shaila, not shaila, because so we see from here that the Shlakish holds hey amizach is mate, that just the mere fact that the morning comes in of the 16th, that in itself is mate t'vur chadasha. Because you see, the Baraisa says if you brought a b'shisha asa, but before Hakavas Haim, it's going to be mutter. The Gemara brings a third opinion in the game. Minchas Haim shenikim shalei l'shma. Rava Alma Minchas Haim shekmatz shalei l'shma kshen. It's going to be kasha. Ushiyada necholin is eaten the leftovers. And you don't need another mincha to be matayit, even though it was done shalei l'shma. Shekain ein machshava me'elis, because the shava of Shalei Lishma won't affect to be taking the carbon. Ella kishem kemi sharei la'aveda v'dava harei la'aveda v'makayim harei la'aveda. So the Gemara is going to ask, what are these three conditions that if he has the wrong mashava, that he is required that if he has the wrong mashava that it should be taking the carbon. B'mi sharei la'aveda, somebody who's fit to do the aveda la'afuk to exclude akayim balmum, whose his mashava doesn't help to be plaguing the carbon, even though he himself passes the carbon as a balmum being makar. But the machshava won't help to be pass the carbon. It has to be a carbon that's brought from things that are la'akrava, la'fuki minchsaima. Minchsaima is not the usual ingredient that a mincha is brought from. Minchsaima is brought from barley. And you can ask me, but we have a minchas kanos. Minchas seit is also brought from barley. It's a different type of a barley. It's coarse and it's big pieces. And also we said minchas chayta. We learned in the Gemara before minchas kanos. It says who, and we compare it to chatas. So it's a different. It's a whole. It's not called the minchas haima. Lo yichazia. So you see that the mincha. So the minchas ha'ima is not fit because a normal mincha is brought from chitin. So therefore, if he has it's shalei l'shma, it won't affect to be pagamit. The chiddush, that's the Torah's machadish that by this mincha that you can even bring it b'seidim, but it's not going to affect the carbon. What does it mean? That condition has to be in a place which is fit to afuki. If the Mizbeach had a piece broken off of it, even in the time of Mincha, even though he's not being a mark of a carbon, just to add some zach that the Mizbeach was nifgam, the machshava at that time that he has the wrong machshava in the carbon will not have an effect. Okay. Because it's called a makom she'ein ro'il avoda. The only even in all the kabbanis, even though the behemoths that were not put on the mizbeach in the azara, would not those kabbanis still will not will be considered as it's not a makom ro'il avoda as long as the mizbeach is complete. Then it's a makom ro'il avoda. If the mizbeach is not complete, then it's not considered as ro'il avoda. And therefore, if he did the kmitza at a time when the mizbeach was pagum, and he had machshavas pigul b'shas hakmitza, like he thought to eat the rest of the mincha outside a lot of time, his machshava won't help to be mefagel pasal lekabim. When it says in the pasuk min abaka lemata, it says that a second time min abaka. First it says, Atum Kiyak Mikem Kam Lashem Min Abehema Min Abaka Min Atzayin, and each min came to be Memayit something else. The first min Abaka came to tell you not all behemoths are Ruyal Akrava, and the min Abehema has come to exclude a behema that was sodomized the person, which is possible. For Akrava min Abaka has come to exclude a behema that was used for serving idol worship. And min Atzayin is excluding a behema that he's designated for idol worship. But then it says again, so what is this additional miyad coming to tell us? This min? That extra min abaka is coming to exclude that treifa. In fact, what do I need that pasuk for? The min for that? Well, I can learn it out from Nakal is mutter lehedjed a behemoth that has a mum is mutter for a hedjed to eat it, but it's forbidden to place it as a carbon. Treifa shasul hedjed, a treifa which is asl hedjed, you didn't shasul lagavaya. For sure should be also to put on the mizbeach, because there by a treifa it's even forbidden to hedjed. So you want to chil v'dam yechichel. Shari yisin lehedjed. You have chil v'dam, fat that is the fats in the blood, which is asla hedjed, umetal negavaya. Says you want to malach dam. Chil dam is different. She came by the klal heta. The chila, the fats and the isidike fats in the blood came from a kosher behema, which was mutabachila tema v'teif shekol yisudo. By teif, the whole animal's asa like tema teres legavaya. It shouldn't be mutal legavaya. Says you want to malika techir shekol yisa. That the oiv shenimlak had the malika, the whole thing is forbidden to eat. Vasula hedjit, it's forbidden to hedjit, but umuteres legavaya. It's good for the mizbeach. The malika is different because sheken kedusha yisarta. The malika is the kedusha from the malika is miskadesh is la'akrava. Mashen kebetreifa she'en kedusha yisarta. By a treifa, the kedusha didn't asa it. It's because it's treif. That's why it became asa. Says you might he may shafta cholzais. You slug up the kavachema, and therefore to learn the psul of the hema, the gavaya is kishuayim menabaka lamata only because it says menabaka. Shein tamad lema, which is the extra word the min. Lights is a teifa to exclude the teifa. Ma imay shafta. What is the kavan of the brayso that's saying if you slugged up the or what you saying you slugged up the kavachema? What slug up did you slug up the kavachema with? So the Gemara Amarav Mishum Hiklamema, because we can say Minchas Haima Teichiach. The Minchas Haima could slug up the kavachema because Shehi Asal Hedjed. It's going to be Asal Hedjed if it's Shalei Lashma Umateres Lagavaya, and nevertheless it's Mutal Lagavaya. So the Gemara Malam Minchas Haima Shekain, it's a mitzvah cheshuva, that it's materes chodesh, that it's coming to be mater the new tvua, and therefore the Torah was mater to be mater, even though it's asal hedjed. But treifa it is not mater anything, even if it would have been kosher carbon, it wouldn't be mater anything. So l'chayri you can still learn the kavachema from Balmum that it's asal carbon. Says the Gemara b'shviyas. By shviyas, we don't find that the mincha can be mata anything. By Gemara shviyas nami. By shviyas it's shekei mata esvichim b'shviyas. That the aftergrowth that it grows on its own without planting in it. It says hey like if they didn't plant, what are they gathering? So he's referring to the aftergrowth. That so since the mincha is mata, the iser chadash of the aftergrowth. Says you want to know, Rabbi Akiva, the Amas Svichen Asur B'Shvis, that even after those grass that grow on its own, those crop that grows on its own is Asur B'Shvis. Even before the Shasabiyah, Tesa says it was Asur. This Svichen of that year, that's what Rabbi Akiva holds. So it wasn't about anything. You could even ask according to Rabbi Akiva. Man l'mitzrayim shekei materes chodesh bechutz laretz. It's matter the chodesh in chutz laretz. So it is matter something. So versus treifa is not matter anything. I feel the man the Amma chodesh bechutz laretz. Love that I say, even according to the man the Amma that says chodesh in chutz laretz is not in Torah. But it's still coming to be matter the love, the Isa of Chodesh that's in the Mincha itself, even though it's Shviyas, so that there's also, but it's matter, but he's not going to be over on Chodesh. So it is being matter something. If so, Teifa Nami, Tikaru, let the Teifa be sacrificed, be matter. The love of treifa that's in it. The first is that how could you compare over there? It's being matter something within it. Here, it's the whole thing it's not being matter anything. Anyway, the Ella says Ella, if you're coming to Iskan, this say Chach v'minchasayim parchachi. It's like this. Mal minchasayim shekem mitzvahs rikach. That the meaning you can't bring a raya mincha that is matter deisa chodesh only through a mincha from the new tvua, and therefore the Torah was matter to be mark of the mincha even though it's a lahedya. But in the case of treifa, you didn't have to bring that carbon treifa to be matter the isa of treifa in it. You could bring a different behema, b'chlal. So there's no mitzvah by treifa. You could say the mefatim hakteres making your teres will prove it. Shu asla hedjit, it's forbidden for hedjit or mutal gavaya, but that pit hakteres, that the mixture of teres is only mutal gavaya. Mefatim gavrahu says the Gemara. Mefatim is going on the person. How is it shaykh to say that it's a mutal gavaya? Meaning that the Torah allowed to do this special mixture of the Torahs only for the Mizbeach, but not for a Hedjit. Says that's going on the Gavra. Says the he says it's forbidden to do for a Hedjit, that's special ingredients or mixture. But a mutal you can do it for in fact you came it's you can't be mefatim yoteres letzedek gavaya only because why it can only it's a mitzvah to do for the gavaya. Only such a thing is asala seisala hedjit. But at treifa there's no mitzvah, so you can't compare. Shabbos lecheach. She asura, it's forbidden to do malacha of lehedjit for a regular person, but you're allowed to do malachas on Shabbos when it comes to be makadit tmidim misafim. Versus betzerich hedjit, you can't. Ma l'Shabbos do malacha on Shabbos. Ma l'Shabbos shekain hut miklala etzel hedjit b'mila. We see that look. Even by hedjit, you're allowed to do mila, so you can't prove that that Shabbos is different because even by Shabbos is mutal hedjit. Says you want to mila said hedjit who? You bring a right that mila is that from mila that it's mutal hedjit to do a malach on Shabbos. Is it for the hedjit? Mila mitzvah. Mila is for the gavaya. It's a mitzvah, so it's considered as gavaya. So you have. So really, the Torah was not the heta of Shabbos was not a heta for the hedjit, and nevertheless you were hutul etzera gavaya. But so we say by teifa, even though they were not matal etzera hedjit, it should be muters legavaya. Let's learn out from that kavachayma. Elamala Shabbos shekem mitzvahs v'kach says you can't learn out from Shabbos because the Tmidim Musaf Shel Shabbos is only first of all it's only Shabbos itself, and it's a mitzvah. But the Indian of Teva is not a mitzvah, so you can learn out with a Kavachayim from Balmum that it's us lakim legavaya, and you don't need this pasuk to teach us that. And this upshlag from Shabbos is not an upshlag from Shabbos, because for Shabbos it's a mitzvah, versus treifa is not. Because you can learn out the Isa Levish's Beged by Kalayim. Techich, that will prove it. Kalayim is Asim Lahedit, Kalayim is forbidden for Hegdish, Mutam Lagavaya, but it's Mutar for Hegdish. Like the Avnate of the Koyim, which was made from Kalayim. So you can learn out, so too Treifa, it should be Mutaris Lagavaya, even though it says Lahedit. So as the Gemara Malak Kalayim, Shekein, Hutmekulam. Eitzel Hadid. Kalayim, you can't bring a rai from Kalayim because it's betzitzis. You find Kalayim by tzitzis, even by a hedget. So you can't prove Kalayim is only by Gavaya and it's a sort of a hedget because tzitzis is mutter even by a hedget. So you want to alter tzitzis said hedget here. This tzitzis is for the need of the hedget. Mitzvah, it's for the need for a mitzvah to perform a mitzvah. So it's Gavaya. So you didn't prove that tzitzis is mutter lahedjet. Allah says the Gemara Malak Kalayim shemitzvas v'kach. By Kalayim, it's Exelis HaKosev that the avnate of the kain should be made out of Kalayim. So you have no proof for treifa, which the mitzvah is not. There's no special mitzvah for treifa. So therefore we can learn out with a Kal V'Chomer from Balmum that it should be Asur L'Gavaya.